Welcome back, everyone. I hope I'm not speaking too loudly, and I hope the background noise isn't bothering you. I'm kind of outside in the darkness, and for this video, what I'll be doing is, what if I was in Naruto and was the twin brother of Naruto? This will be my character, and I'll explain the reason why I have white hair in a couple of moments. But first, let me explain our birth and what happened. And then, after the birth, I'll explain about why my hair is gonna end up fully white. So, on our birth, when Kushina would give birth to two children, two boys, and she would name one of the boys Minima, being me, and the other would be named Naruto. And she would name me. Hello. Sorry about that. And oh, hello, doggy. She would go, Minato. He has a bit of white in his hair. And Minato would stop smiling, and he'd go, but he also has a bit of. He has his hair is fully blonde. He has strips of red in his hair, but only the tips are white, so he should be fine. Trying to seem joyful and pleased, but under that, you could tell that he was fuming. And they'd look at the other boy, as his hair would be completely blonde, except for he wouldn't have whiskers, because I will explain this now. There will be no Nine Tails attack, because when Obito was finna get crushed by the rock, Minato came and saved him at the last second. And Minato isn't the Hokage yet. And there will be a reason for this. Like, he'll still become Hokage. It's just there's a reason he isn't Hokage right now. And Minato being happy that at least one of his kids might not end up being a failure, even if the other one does. Obviously, speaking about me, he'd go, honey, at least this one has my golden locks. As he'd chuckle, and she'd smile, and she'd say, do you think they both could become amazing ninja? And he'd go, yes, I see that as a possibility for one of them, but depending on how the other one grows up and how, how he, his hair changes and how he begins to act when he starts growing up. Because if his hair becomes fully white, there's no way he can become a ninja, a good ninja at that, even if he did become a ninja. And I have a high enough IQ to understand at the moment, like understand what they're talking about. And so I'd be confused, even though, my eyes aren't open. I can still hear him perfectly well. And Kushina would say, Doctor, actually, I'd like to change this one's name to Izuku. Can I? And she would go, the female nurse would go, sure. Just sign this paper. Do you and will he have a last name? My bad. I meant to say the doctor grabs the paper, sorry. And Kushina would say, not at the moment. And Minato would smile at her, saying, that's a good choice. And the doctor, being confused, would say, And why doesn't this one keep his original name and his, why doesn't he keep his original name? And what's wrong with having a bit of white in his hair or his hair turning completely white? And Minato would say, well, in the Uzumaki bloodline, every couple hundred of years, there's always a kid born of a pair of twins. And one of those twins will always be a disgrace or, um, yeah, a disgrace to the Uzumaki bloodline, not being able to become ninja, use ninjutsu, or chakra. And the doctor, being completely confused, would look at him and go, are you sure about this? And he'd go, I'm completely positive. And Kushina would also nod in agreement, reassuring the doctor that Minato had just told her the truth. And the doctor would look at me and think, if he does end up being the one born with white hair, like, no, she'd think, if he does end up getting a full head of white hair, hold up, excuse me, then I feel bad for him because he's probably gonna get bullied by everyone, including his own family. Sorry about that. And I'd I'd be listening to what they were talking about, and I'd be thinking, so this is why, because of some prophecy. Well, I mean, I don't have much strength in this body as I had in my original body, but come on, I know for a fact that when I jumped into this body, I knew for a fact his hair would have turned white because I need to prove to everyone that even without being, without having chakra, I could still, become the best shinobi. But then I'd remember and I'd smirk. I'd go, no, that's not how us Zoldyks do it. I'd say, I'll prove to this ninja society and this ninja world that once I become a shinobi, quote unquote, I'd be thinking that I'd be the best at it because I used to be the best assassin there was. And with my assassination techniques and all my abilities I used to have, as long as I can train this boy's body, well, train my new body to full capacity, then I'll be able to rule this world with a finger. No, I'll be able to rule this world. And then I'd look like I'd open my eyes and feel tired, but I'd still be able to say it. Like, I wouldn't say it, like, I'd think the word, and the word would be, no, my bad. I'd think a couple of words, and those words would be, and I'll prove you wrong before I'd fall asleep. Because, as I said, a baby's body isn't, strong enough. And so I'd be sitting there, like, time skip a year, and Minato has become Hokage, and it's our birthday party, and Naruto would be held by Kushina, while as me, I'd be in like this ball pit thing, and the parents are talking about, oh, their children oh, their children are this and going to become the best shinobi and the best of friends when they get older. And Mikoto, Mikoto, however you want to pronounce her name, Uchiha, would come into the house greeting Kushina, and she'd go, "It's been a while, old friend." And Kushina would say, "Agreed, I haven't seen you in a while. How have you been?" And she'd go, "I've been alright. My two boys are growing up just fine." And me, obviously not being of this world, who had heard my boys, I'd be thinking Sasuke and Itachi. Because, as I said, I just came to this world because, well, came to this specific version of Naruto because I wanted to prove that anybody could become a shinobi. So, as I said, I'd be shocked. I'd be like, so did she have twins in this world too, or is Itachi still the older brother? And she'd come and put down a baby Itachi, and I'd be shocked. I'd say, so I'll get to go to school with a prodigy, his younger brother, who's supposed to be a type of prodigy, as long as he doesn't become an emo, which shouldn't happen since Itachi is a child. And then I'd be thinking, but then all of a sudden Itachi would look at me and speak. He'd go, "You, why do you seem so calm?" And I'd be shocked. And he'd say, "And judging by your reaction, you can understand me and possibly can talk and walk as well." And he'd stand up, standing over me, and he'd hold out his hand, exclaiming that he was Itachi Uchiha. And I'd grab his hand, and I'd say, "My name of as my name as of this moment is Yusuke Freak Zoldyck. I was not claimed by the Uzumaki, my bad, the Uzumaki Namikaze family." And he'd say, "Well, that's something." And I'd say, "What do you mean something?" And he'd go, "Well, I expected the Hokage to be, very diligent in training both of his children." And I'd look at Itachi and I'd go, "Well, supposedly I I am not supposed to be able to use chakra, but I can. I can also use multiple different things, but as of this moment, chakra is the only thing I can disclose to you." And Itachi would say the same, saying that if he if he said too much, he would have to kill me. And I'd be shocked. I'd say, "Yo, bro, you're still a baby. What do you mean you're gonna kill me? We're around the same age, if not exactly the same age." But then, when Itachi was about to say something else, hold on, give me a second. Sorry about that. I had to take care of some business. But as I said, when Itachi was about to say something, the adults came into the room and they saw, well, they were about to see me and Itachi standing because it caught Itachi off guard because he had never, like, he was so focused on dealing with me that he didn't focus on the their chakra signatures getting closer. And I'm not saying that baby Itachi could do this, but in my what if and in my universe that I'm in now, I'm saying that he can. Am I saying that like my twin Naruto and or Sasuke could do this? No, but I am saying that once the adults were about to come in, I would I would grab Itachi's hand and I'd fall on purpose, making Itachi slip, and he'd fall onto the balls. Pause. And I'd fall back on my back, and neither of us would be crying. We'd just sit up, and once they'd walk in, he'd show a thumbs up, and I'd show one back. And the adults would come in holding, well, Mikoto would come in holding Sasuke, and she'd say, "Itachi, it's time to go. Come on." And she'd go to grab Itachi when all of a sudden Fugaku would walk in and he'd say, "Where's my prodigy son, Itachi? I need to go back to training him." And I'd be thinking, training a kid at this younger age? I mean, I'm doing the same, except for I'm not being trained. I'm just training to get my strength and my physical body strength back to what it used to be. But he's training a kid, a baby, a 1 year old, to get stronger already, exclaiming that Itachi will be the best beginning of his generation, with Sasuke being right behind him. But I'd be thinking, I'd say, sorry to burst your bubble. Well, I wouldn't say it out loud, but as I said, I think to myself, sorry to burst your bubble, but I'll be the top inside the academy. And once I become a guinea, I'll blow both your children out of the water. And then I'd look at my twin Naruto, who would be smiling at me, and I'd say, and I'll protect my twin no matter what. And then I'd look at Minato, who'd come and he'd grab me, and he'd go, "Alright, it's time for bed, you two." And he'd grab both of us. And he'd start taking both of us upstairs. Once he'd make it upstairs, he'd sit me at the top of the stairs, and he'd take Naruto to his bedroom. And once Minato would come back, he'd pick me up and glare at me. He'd go, "Your hair is turning more and more white. I knew I should have just put you in the orphanage. And I'm glad I changed your name at your birth site. Because if you would have been named after me, I would have had to kill you myself." And I'd be thinking in my head, kill is a strong word. He needs to know what it means to try to kill someone. And in my head, I think of a scenario where he'd go to grab a kunai, and I'd flex the muscles in my hands, making my fingernails sharp, and stabbing my hand through his throat, making both of us fall down the stairs, and then make it look like he just fell on top of his kunai that he had pulled out. But because a baby's hand is very small, and with the pointed tips of my fingernails making it look like the width of a kunai, it would work out. But no such a thing would happen. He'd say, "So you're going to your old room. Naruto will enjoy the new room." And he'd say, "Oh, and I don't know if you understand me, but I'll tell you this now, and I'll continue to tell you this. If you get in my prodigy's way, oh, I'll make sure you're kicked out of this village. I don't care what I have to do. I'll get all, and I mean every last elder on my side, and I will get you kicked from this village." and I'd just be smirking. Well, he wouldn't notice it because he'd be mad, but I'd smirk at him, and I'd be thinking, yeah, and that's maybe, but just know if trouble were to befall this village, I'm not coming to help you unless my brother, or I don't know if I can call him this yet, but my friend Itachi is in danger. So I wouldn't care if I was kicked from this village. But and I'd be thinking in my head, but I hope it's after the kidney exams because it seems like he's adamant about getting me out of his village. And so I'd be sitting there and I'd be looking and I'd be looking and looking. But there'd be nothing on the walls. I'd be in a blank room with just a mattress on the floor with a small blanket that's just big enough to cover the mattress and a small fan next to the bed. And he'd close the door saying, "Have a great dream about you dying, you brat." And he'd close the door and I'd come from under the cover and I'd take off my shirt and I'd start back doing my workout of 100 push-ups, which, as I said, I'm a baby. I cannot do this yet. So I'd stop at around 5 push-ups and I think I have improved from yesterday. I can do 2 more push-ups than I did when I first started my training yesterday. Meaning, at the rate that I'm going, I'll probably be able to do this by the time I turn 2 to 3. And I'd get up and I'd start jogging and running around the room. Well, not running, so jogging because I can't physically run yet. So I'd be jogging as fast as I can around the room, and I'd probably make it to like from one corner to another, and then about halfway, which is where my mattress is, before I'd fall on the ground being tired. And I think, and this is farther than I got yesterday. Jesus. But I've improved from this too. And so I'd start doing squats, which I did 5 yesterday, and I'd do 10 today. And I'd say, well, this is going by fast. I should be able to do, I should be in the peak of my physique around the time either by graduation of the probably the day of the graduation and the for the beginning exams, I would say. Well, I think. And then I'd hear a noise coming, so I'd lay back under the cover. And Minato, no, Kushina would walk in and she'd place down a bottle next to me and she'd exclaim, "This is what you'll eat." Well, you know, because babies drink milk and stuff. She'd give, like Naruto breast milk, which I would not want anyway. But she'd give me like milk you buy from, not like the milk in the jug, but like the type of milk that you make from water and the baby powder that if you have a younger baby sibling and you had to make their bottles, you probably know what I'm talking about. And so I'd be sitting there and I'd be looking. And then once I'd notice the coast is clear, I'd go back to my workout, trying to improve until I eventually passed out on the next time I ran. I'd make it back to my bed, I'd trip over my pillow, fall on top of it, and just pass out on the spot. And in my dream, I'd see my past older adult self, and he'd be looking at me with a smile. He'd say, "So I see you're already starting your training. That's good, younger me, but you have to do better than this." And he'd exclaim, "Because you know," and I'd say it, I'd think it along with him saying it, we did better than this when we were around the same age as you are now. Well, as I am now, I would say. Well, think, as he would say. And then I'd wake up the next day, and basically this would go on, not like the partying and stuff, but the training regiment will go on for about the same amount of time. So I'll do a time skip to when we are six, and I'd be thinking, I'd say, give me a second. I had to yawn. So my bad, I had to yawn. And then I sneezed right after. But as I said, I'll do a time skip to when we are six and we are just starting the academy. And my hair would be fully white and I'd have red eyes. I don't know if I explained said this earlier in the thing, but I have red eyes, crimson bloody red eyes, and basically I look like inside the picture, just smaller and without the outfit. And I'd be there walking with Naruto, who would smile at me. He'd say, "So, big bro, what do you think we'll do on our first day in the academy?" And he would have learned, like, since we've been training since kids, he would have learned Minato and Kushina's fighting styles. He would have learned well, he wouldn't have perfected it, but like he can kind of use the Rasengan to an extent. Like he can form it and hit you with it, but like it just pushes you back a couple of meters and it'll injure you a bit. That's about it. That's as much as the potency gets, right? And me, on the other hand, I would have, I would have had been able to get some of my abilities back that I had from my past life. And since I've been to multiple worlds, like Dragon Ball, stuff like that, I'd have the Kamehameha in my arsenal. I'd be able to fly. I'd be using Morijin's fighting style. I'll make another video about like my origins if you want. But hold up, give me. Sorry about just pausing that, and I'm sorry for pausing so much during this video. I've had to do something, and some more things just kept coming up, and I apologize. But as for what I was just talking about, I'll make an origins story about like Ninja Meliodaku, aka Zuku Freak Zoldyck, if you want. I mean, I'll probably make it a no, I'll probably make it a vocalized story because making it a texted story would probably take too long. And since it's just an origin story, it'll probably only be an hour and probably not a series. But let's continue from where I left off. So as I said, crap, where was I? I'll just start from where I was. So Naruto would be like, what the fuck? My bad. Bro, what the fuck? What the fuck is that? Sorry. So Naruto would say, "Big brother, what do you think the first day of the academy would be like?" And I'd smirk and I'd say, "I don't know, but I hope they aren't too weak." And Naruto would be worried. He'd say, "But big brother, aren't didn't mother and father say that you're weak?" And like he wouldn't say this in like a disrespectful way. Like I'd know like this is just literally what they have been telling him. And I'd tell him, I'd go, "No, you can't just believe everything people says nowadays." And he'd oh uh, so what do you think father and mother meant by you were weak? I'd say they probably meant like, oh, like I was like weak in some other category that you are strong in. I'd say because you have a large chakra pool. That's probably what they meant. They probably meant that my chakra pool is weaker than yours. And he'd smile at the answer. He'd say, yeah, that's probably what they meant. And this would be a genuine smile from him. And me being me, I'd walk up to him. Sorry about that. I hope that's the last pause. I do not know for sure, and if something just happened to the mic, it's because I was relaying out what I was laying on before I left. And I apologize if I seemed kind of far right there. I was just doing something. But as I said, I'd look at him and he'd be genuinely smiling, and I'd go, and this is that smile that you have there. Like I'd say this in my head. I'd say, that is the smile that I'll protect even with my last breath. But then I'd smirk, I'd say, but it's not like someone in this world can beat me. And then all of a sudden, Itachi and Sasuke would walk up next to us. But me and Itachi have grown closer since me and him are the older brothers, and so did Naruto and Sasuke, being the younger siblings out of the pairs. And I'd be like, yo, what up, bro? And Itachi would say, yo, so your parents still treating you like shit? Like Naruto and Sasuke would be in front of us, walking a bit faster than us, so they wouldn't be paying attention because they're in their own conversation. And I'd say, same old, same old. And he'd say, so why don't you just show them that you can use chakra and that you have this OP ass fighting style? And I'd say, shh, they can't know that yet. Trust me, once they kick me out of the village, which I know is coming either after I graduate or sometime before the tuning exams. But even still, I'll participate in the tuning exams. And he'd say, what do you mean? How would you participate in the tuning exams? And I'd go, well, you see, I'm not there to pass. I'm just there to fight, you see. And since there will be a lot of different villages and different nations that'll be there. Excuse me, I'm yawning. He'd go, I'd say, and since there'll be a lot of nations and villages there, like village people from different villages there, I'll get to fight a lot of strong people, and I'd smile. And he'd go, you know, when it comes down to fighting, you're like an alcoholic. You just can't get enough of it, can you? And I'd go, nope. But I don't like alcohol. Not all that much. It's not really that good. And he'd say, well, tell that to that old guy over there. And he'd point at a white haired guy. Like he'd have long, spiky white hair. And to us, we know that's Jiraiya, including me. But I wouldn't say this. I'd walk up to him because he'd be harassing some woman next to him that'd be walking. And he'd go to grab her arm, and it looked like she was finna hit him. So I'd touch his shoulder. I'd say, um, I don't know if you noticed this, but I wouldn't touch her. It seems like that punch is gonna hurt. And he'd be shocked, not because they'd both be shocked because neither of them noticed me walking up or even being behind them. And Tsunade, being shocked, would throw a punch, and I'd kick her hand like like towards the ground, and she'd hit the ground, causing a big boom, like a big crack in the ground. And I'd pretend I was scared, and Jiraiya and Tsunade would notice this, and everyone in our class would, well, not in our class, but like, because me, the reason why I pretended to like be scared and stuff, because Minato was like I sensed his chakra coming this way, and he'd appear and he'd see me kind of shocked and scared, see Tsunade punching the ground, and he'd kind of chuckle. He'd say, "Okay, okay, what happened?" And everyone would say, "Oh, it's the Hokage. What is he doing here?" Yada yada yada. And I'd take that chance to walk off, and Minato would shoot me a glare, which I'd send a glare back at him, and this would catch him off guard. Even though like I ain't sending any bloodlust or anything, he was like shocked that I sent, like I glared back at him, and he'd think that it was just his imagination. Because when he shook his head and looked back up, I wasn't even there. And Tsunade and Jiraiya would be like, "Minato, who is that boy?" And Minato would say, "Oh, my my son of sorts." And they'd be shocked. They'd say, "But didn't you say you only have one child?" And Minato would say, "Yeah, I do. I don't claim him, but he's still my kid, you know. But once the academy is over and the tuning exams is over, where I'll have my son embarrass his older brother for being weak, I'll kick him from the village." And then Minato would say, "No, because then it'll seem like I was just picking on the boy if I put my son up against him." And Jiraiya and Tsunade would be shocked. They'd be like, "Why would you do that to your own son?" And he'd say, "That boy may be my son and he may have came from my sperm cells, but I do not claim him in any way, shape, or form. That is not my child. Sure, I called him my son right then and there, but that was because the clan heads were walking past us, as they'd see the not the Uzumaki, as they'd see Fugaku, they'd see Shikada. I mean, damn, my bad. They'd see Shikaku. They'd see Choji's dad, whose name I cannot remember. I apologize. They'd see Ino's dad. I do not know how to pronounce his name, so I'm gonna just call him Ino's father or Ino's dad. Sorry, not sorry, I guess. And me, oh damn, let me slow down. And Kushina would be with them, and Mikoto would also be there, but she'd be talking to Kushina. And Minato would say he was with them, but then he heard a punch, and he informed them that it was probably Tsunade and Jiraiya bickering again. And he'd ask, "So what were you two bickering about now?" And them both knowing that he couldn't say that, oh, Naruto, the son that he's been neglecting, had snuck up on them and caught them off guard because he wouldn't believe them. So he was like, so Jiraiya, being Jiraiya, would take one for the team, saying that he was trying to, touch, cop a feel of the 106s. And Tsunade would blush at this and punch him on top of the head and would storm off, catching up with Kushina and Mikoto. And Jiraiya on the ground would be down there saying, "Worth it. It was worth it. Did you see how they jiggled?" And Minato would say, Sensei, you're weird sometimes. You know that? And Jiraiya and Tsunade both would look at each other, and Tsunade would run back, pretending like she had just forgotten something, because they had wanted to tell him they know who the child of prophecy is. But now they can't tell him. Well, like, they're still gonna, like, it's obviously still gonna be Naruto, because I do not want to be the child of prophecy. And I didn't want to make, like, oh, Minma and Mito in this, or Minma and Nakara, or whoever and whoever. And then just have me and Naruto as the outcast. Wanted to try something different. And so they would inform him that Naruto is the child of prophecy that is to be trained by the two legendary Sani, the Hokage, and his mother, and would know a lot of jutsu and have a large pool of chakra, or have a large chakra pool. And all of this would hint at Naruto, and he teleport behind me because he had put a seal on my back, and he destroyed the seal once he arrived, and he placed a seal, like, no, he appeared behind me, destroying the seal that he had on my back, and I'd pretend I didn't notice him, and he'd walk up to Naruto, and who would obviously not pretend like he didn't notice him. Everyone in the class noticed him, and I'd just pretend, oh, why is everyone turning around? And so I'd turn around and I'd see him, and Minato would look at me like he was even more mad, and I'd just smile at him. I wouldn't say, oh, hello, father, or hello, this, that, that. No, I just smile at him, which would anger him even more. Like, it looked like he was turning red, type of angry. And Naruto would tap his shoulder, saying, Dad, is there something you needed? And everyone in the class, because there's some dumbasses. Because how the hell, like, I get, like, okay, Naruto name is Naruto Uzumaki, from a clan that you guys did not know of because some unknown circumstances. But come on now, it's not that hard to put two and two together. He was born on the same day that the Hokage's child was born. He has the exact same color hair and same type of hairstyle, except for Minato has grown out his sideburns. And I'm pretty sure Naruto was just used to getting that haircut that they had given him, that their Hokage had given him. I'm pretty sure he was just used to having that haircut, so that's why he never grew out his side bangs and stuff. But it was pretty obvious, like, to me, like, once they first showed the fourth Hokage, and like in a flashback, or when they had showed like the fourth Hokage when they were sealing Naruto, like the nine-tailed fox into Naruto. My bad. Like, never mind. Back to the story. They would be shocked, saying the Hokage is his father, and the girls in the class would be fangirling even more. And I'd look at Itachi, and I'd nod, and we'd both walk up, hand in our assignments, and walk out of the class. Iruka would was going to go and yell at us, but then he'd look at it and see we answered all the questions perfectly, and he'd allow us to leave, so we'd walk out. But the other classmates was entranced by Oh, he's the Hokage's son, and he's hot. No homo. And so they'd, start fangirling over him even more. And him being next to Sasuke would be a double kill for them. Most of the girls would faint, and the main ones like Sakura and Ino would walk up. Ino walking up to Naruto, Sakura walking up to Sasuke, and they'd ask them out, like right then and there. And those who not wanting to hurt their feelings, they'd they'd say, "How about we go and get ramen and see if we're compatible? And if we are, I'll date you until Minato would say, I'm sorry, son, but I cannot allow you to date just yet." And Sasuke and Naruto would smile and look back at um Minato. He'd say, "Because I need to train you, and Sasuke, your father's gonna train you because we just found out that you are the children of the prophecy. Sasuke, who is to be trained by his father and by and also Orochimaru did not become a rogue nin and leave Konoha. So he'd be trained by it'd state that he'd be trained by the head of the Uchiha and the snake sage, and he would master snake sage jutsu and be the wielder of an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and something else known as, why the hell did I just go brain dead? Give me a second, because it might take me a while to remember. So I'll just, sorry about that. I'm kind of slow. But yeah, it'd say the like he'd be the strongest wielder of the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and the Rinnegan at the same time. And he was the second half of the prophecy. Give me a second. Sorry guys, and sorry. I had to relocate myself back outside once again. It was like as soon as I went inside the house, things just decided to kick off. And these girls just tearing me up. But I'm about to pull through. Okay. So, as I was saying, what would happen is, crap. Oh yeah. So after this, Naruto and Sasuke have become distant from me and Itachi. Fugaku even stopped teaching Itachi. Itachi started teaching himself, which helped him and me a lot because since we are no longer, like being pestered by our families, we are able to fully, like train at our fullest. And I'm gonna do a time skip here to the final day of, school. And Naruto and Sasuke's demeanors have completely changed. They became cocky and they act like how Sasuke is in the anime, stuck up, but like they aren't the emo. Like they still have fun, they still laugh. Sometimes they cry and stuff. Like they're human. They're just like they're like how Sasuke is, except for minus the emo. And I want to kill this person, that person, and this person. Well, he only wanted to kill Itachi, but we're not going to speak on that, right? So, as I said, we would go to the first part, which would be a written test, which we would pass, me and Itachi would pass with flying colors. And Sasuke and Naruto would also pass, but they would have 99s, while me and Itachi have hundreds. They would scoff saying, "This is only, you know, a written test. It's not the practical." They're gonna finally show us that where we belong, our place. And I'd be shocked. I'd say, "This isn't my brother. Why is he acting like this?" And Naruto, who had agreed with what Sasuke had just said, would look at me with a bit of sadness in his eyes. But then he'd go back and he'd smirk, saying, "And big bro, I just found out something. White haired Uzumakis can't use chakra at all, meaning you're useless." And his expression, like I read his emotions, and this would be his true feelings. That hint of sadness he had showed earlier was his last bit of doubt he had against saying it. He didn't feel bad that he had to say it. He felt he he felt he would feel a bit guilty, but he shrugged it off. And I'd be shocked. Like I wouldn't be heartbroken. I'd just be shocked. Like I'd be confused also. And then I'd smirk and laugh. I'd say, "Cannot use chakra, huh? Well, it doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure I can pass the test. I mean, my chakra is still greater than yours." And he'd say, "What do you mean? You lied to me when we were younger, saying that they just meant that you had a weaker chakra pool than me. But you have no chakra, meaning you will not pass this." And I'd say, "Well, we'll see about that, little bro." And he'd smirk. He'd go, "Okay." And Sasuke would walk up to Itachi and he'd say, "Oh, and up in the sparring matches, I'm gonna fight you." And Itachi would agree. And by the way, I wanna make this clear. I know I said Sasuke would be the strongest Rinnegan mixed with the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan user. And that's true, but Itachi would be the strongest Uchiha. But you're gonna see what I mean like at a later date. And I don't even know if I'll keep this part in the video. But if I do, this is just a bit of a spoiler because I'm kinda getting tired and I did not know what to say at this point. But yeah, let's continue. So I'm just gonna try to wrap this up at an hour, and I'll just continue on the next part tomorrow when I get done with what I have to do, and then I'll just post this with another texting story. And this is what I'll do from now on. I'll make a texting story, and if I still have some free time left over, I'll record an hour of this series. But as I said, I'm gonna continue. Gonna try to at least make this an hour or an hour or so. So I I'd walk no after everyone has went and did the substitution. I mean not substitution. My bad. The transformation jutsu and the clone jutsu, except for Sasuke, Naruto, and Itachi, who did the shadow clone jutsu. I'd walk up, and Iruka and everyone in the class who had heard what Naruto said were kind of like chuckling, and he'd say, "Perform the transformation jutsu." And I'd transform into someone, but it'd be someone unknown to them. Hold up, I'll show you. I would have transformed into Morijin, and everyone would be confused at like saying things like, "Who is that? And why did he transform into this random guy?" And then Iruka being even more shocked, saying, "But I thought you couldn't use chakra." And I'd say again, why does everyone believe in everything people say nowadays? Like, don't you guys know that people can lie too? And Naruto would be hella shocked. He'd be like, "What?" He'd be like, What's going on?" And Minato, who would be watching, no, Minato's Anbu, aka Kakashi, who he'd have be watching like the exam, would be shocked, and he'd be, not recording, but like he'd be writing, he'd write down what he just saw, and then he'd go back to watching, and obviously in the shadows, but like watching through the window. And Iruka would say, "Perform the clone jutsu," and I'd say, "Sure," and I'd perform the shadow clone jutsu, and I'd also perform like it wouldn't be just the shadow clone jutsu, like I take a strand of my hair, just a singular strand. And first I'd do the shadow clone jutsu and release it. And I'd say, if I show you more clones, do I get extra, like if I show you a different type of clones, will I get extra points for it? And he'd be confused. What different type of clones I take? Well, a type of clones that hasn't ever been like used in this world. And he'd be like, "Sure, yes, I can give you extra points." And Kakashi, who had saw me take a strand of my hair out, would be staring at the strand like, "Why did he take out a piece of his hair?" And I'd imbue a bit of power into it and drop it, and it'd transform into a perfect copy of me. But this perfect copy would have its own, like, not like its like own type of personality. Like it'd be like me, but it wouldn't be like me. You can tell by how it looks like we're like one-to-one copies of each other. But like if you know how Morihgen clones are, then you would know like they are like the same, but like with different type of mentalities. Because I'm not completely sure, because I did finish God of High School, but ever since it's been removed from like most of the chapters been removed from webtoons. I cannot tell you for sure, correct, but I'll just say this: my clone that I made would like show my true emotions towards them, and it glare at Naruto, shocking him. And then it also looked dead at Kakashi, but I'd flick it, making it disappear, and I'd say sorry about that. See, these clones have the ability to show like my true emotions and show anything that I'm hiding. And if I hide, like, oh, like if I sense or see someone and I'm trying to pretend I don't, but I summon one of these clones, they'll just, like straight up go and try to attack the person that I'm pretending not to see. Or I can make it to where it's a one-to-one copy of me, like I showed you, and it has its own like personality, its own thing, but it also knows that it's a clone of me. And it, but, and he'd say, "Why did you stop?" And then change your mind and say, "But," I'd say, "Well, if I would have told you that, you probably would have told the Hokage. And I can't have the Hokage knowing about all my secrets now, can I? A ninja has to keep their secrets, well, some secrets hidden. Isn't that right?" And he'd say, "Yeah, I guess you're right." And I'd say, "But all the training and stuff and all the moves that they have learned, once they disappear like a normal, regular shadow clone, I get all those memories, but I also have full mastery over that technique and like how they use that technique, and I don't know like the strategies and ways they use it in battle, and how to use it going forward into battles. And he would be shocked. He'd be like, "Is there anything else? Like any other type of clones?" I'd say Mirage. I'd say I have Mirage clones, but they're not technically clones. It's just I'd I'd step forward and I'd say if I all right, so say I step sideways and I'd step back in place, which I'd do. He'd see me just standing there, but he'd see another me, and then it'd disappear after a while. And he'd say, what type of clone is that?" I'd say, "It's not a clone. It's technically an after image." And he'd say, "And is that all?" I'd say, "That's all I will disclose to you." And he'd go, he'd be thinking, when did this kid, I mean, I know he's the top of his grade in academics, and depending on how this sparring match goes, if he somehow does win, then he'll be known as like the strongest there and the smartest that has ever been through the academy. I mean, he won't be like the fastest person to go through the academy, but you know, and I'd look, and you guys, I know Itachi had got out of the academy early, but I'm just saying like this because you'll see. So the spars would take place, and Sasuke versus Itachi. Itachi, who has his two tomoe in both eyes, beat Sasuke, who has a two tomoe and a one tomoe. Like he has one tomoe in his left eye, and he has two in the right, and Itachi beat him. And I'd walk past Itachi saying, "Why didn't you use your three tomoe?" And he'd say, "Because you notice someone's watching us, right?" I'd say, "Yeah, I knew that, but you could have showed a bit of power off, man." And he'd say, "Well, we can spar later." I'd say, "Nah, we're probably gonna get kicked out of the village after this. They're probably gonna try to blame something on us. They're probably gonna send us somewhere, and then blame it on us, and have us, like exiled and banished from the village." And he'd say, "And how would you know this?" And I'd say, "Because I had a shadow clone." Well, I wouldn't say this out loud, but I'd use the telepathy skill that, with Ki, you can use telepathy. I'd use telepathy and I'd say, "Because I made a shadow clone and it was up in the Hoga's office and it was invisible and it listened to him and he set up a murder that's gonna happen soon. So once we get out of the academy, he's gonna send me and you there. And once we're sent there, they're gonna he's gonna bring like all the Ambu out with him and they're gonna pretend to be shocked. And they're gonna handcuff us and like put us up on these like on the stage in front of the village. And when he puts us there, he'll go on to explain that we killed such and such and will be kicked out of, will be banished from the village, leaving the two prodigies or the two children of prophecy there. I mean, I have nothing against my brother, really, and I doubt you do too, because it's only natural for us to still have love for them. It's just that when they changed, so did their attitude and stuff, and that's something I don't like about them currently. But I guess you can't really force them to change. They must have been groomed that way. They must have been getting spoiled. But as I said, just go along with it. Once we get banished, and once we get banished from the village, I already know a place that I've been creating with other people that has been banished and stuff. And because usually I'd sneak out of the village and I'd go around like close to the village and I'd find people who were recently kicked out of the village. And we put together this mini village type of thing that we call the disappeared, because basically once you go into this village, your chakra signature and stuff is erased off the face of the earth. And he'd be like, "What do you mean?" I and I'd say, "I placed this like veil thing over it that only people I allow into it can enter, or like people that I trust bring into the village go in there. But if I don't trust you, you will not be able to enter my village." And Itachi would say, "All right, that's enough because we've just been standing here looking at each other, and everyone looks kind of, suspicious, especially the guy that's watching us." And I'd go, "Yeah, you're right." So I'd look, and then I'd see Naruto already in the circle, and everyone would be laughing as Naruto would be taunting me, telling me, "What, you're scared now? What, you don't want to come inside the ring now? You're acting all big and tough when you proved to us that you had chocolate, but do you know how to use it?" And I'd say, "You're a brat, you know that?" And this would shock everyone, and the girls would start yelling, going all berserk, going, "How dare you talk to him like that? Yada 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 yada." And I'd say, "And you guys are even more annoying. And you, the blonde one, I mean, you don't really mess with me, but you're also kind of annoying. I mean, you bother me whenever I'm around my brother, but when I'm not around him, you just seem kind of chill. So, I mean, it's conflicted when it comes down to you, but the rest of you can shut the hell up." And they'd be quiet, and then Naruto would say, "Well, I'll make you shut the hell up as soon as I beat your ass." And I'd step into the ring, and Iruka would yell, "Hajime," and he'd dash at me, but then all of a sudden he'd fall, and I'd walk out of the circle exclaiming that I won. And Kakashi, who had his Sharingan active, like he had moved his headband and had his Sharingan like in use, would have saw that once Naruto dashed at me and got close enough within range to hit me, I kicked him 3 times. Basically, I just used the triple kick, kicked him in both the temples of his head, and then I went behind him and kicked him in the back of the head, making his face slam into the ground, and he just fell unconscious. And Kakashi would disappear, going in a shunshin or the body flicker technique, and he'd notify Minato, who would appear there, and he'd tell me and Itachi to go to this certain back street, like back alleyway street, because there was a guy who wanted to meet us. And I'd look at Itachi and I'd let him know with telepathy, "Well, I guess it's time for us to." And he'd nod, and I'd say, "Yeah, I'll go check it out." And he'd say, "Oh, and bring Itachi with you. The guy said that bringing a friend along would help with the workload." And once we'd arrive at the location Minato would tell us, the guy who would be dead would have written a note before he died in his blood. It'd say, "Leave, you're getting set up." But then all of a sudden, when went to grab the note, someone had threw a paper bomb on the back of it, or placed a paper bomb on the back of it, and it blew up. And they thought that they had killed us, but me and Tachi jumped backwards, and I was in the basic stance of Taekwondo, and Itachi was in his stance, ready to, you know. But then I'd notify him. I'd say, "Stay in your stance and pretend like you're just on guard. Do not attack them, and whatever happens, just go along with it. Trust me. And he'd nod, and they'd come out. They'd say, "Put your hands." They'd say, "Put your hands where we can see them, or we'll force you use force." And we'd be shocked. We'd both pretend to be shocked. We'd be like, "But we didn't do anything." And they'd be like, "Shut up, you scoundrels!" And they'd grab us, and we'd be put in shackles. Well, like like chains on our wrists and ankles with the metal ball, and we'd be taken up on the stage. Minato would give his speech about how we were traitors and stuff, and how he doesn't allow traitors into his village. And then all of a sudden, people would start throwing rocks and stuff at us. I'd be moving out of the way, like slightly, so they wouldn't notice that I was dodging, and Itachi would be doing the same, hiding his Sharingan. Well, not having his Sharingan active because it's just villagers. But then, the getting from our class, and then, other ninja would come, and Itachi would activate his three tomoe. He'd hide it by looking down slightly, and he'd be barely dodging it while I'd just still be chilling, just barely dodging. When all of a sudden, my brother Naruto would come out of nowhere and go to hit me with the Rasengan. But I'd kick the metal ball around my body, and he'd hit the metal ball with the Rasengan, and I'd turn around, spinning, and he'd fly past me, hitting a wall. And Sasuke would be attacking his brother with the Chidori, which Itachi would easily dodge. And he'd also make Sasuke break the metal ball. And since it's electricity, he substituted, because metal and electricity don't mix. You're gonna get electrocuted. And so once he'd get out of there, they'd be like, "They're finna attack the two prodigies of the village. Exile them. Get them out. Banish them." They'd be yelling, throwing more rocks and stuff, trying to protect Naruto and Sasuke, who would smirk. And I'd yell into the crowd, "But didn't they just attack us first?" And they'd go, "But you killed a random civilian." And I'd look down and I'd say, "Fine." And I'd say, "Yo, Itachi, let's leave. I'm tired of this village anyway." And he'd say, "Same." But then he'd kick Sasuke, launching him past everyone in the crowd. And they'd fly over everyone. Huh? They'd fly over everyone. And, well, not they. Like Sasuke would fly over all the people and crash into the back row of them. Uh, and I'd look and I'd say, "Naruto, if you don't want to end up like him, then just go get your friend, and me and Itachi will leave this village." And by the way, I'm gonna say we're 13 at the moment. I I'm pretty sure that's when they graduated, but if not, I'm saying for sure that we're 13 at the moment. And so lights are bright. Sorry. Then Naruto would be trying to hit me while we were walking out of the village, but I'm just dodging while continuously walking forward, not paying him any mind. Uh, and then all of a sudden, a shadow clone of Naruto would appear in front of me, but I realized this was a shadow clone, so I kicked the Naruto behind me, which was a shadow clone, and it poofed into smoke. And he'd use that smoke to his advantage and go try to hit me with a Rasengan. But I'd make a key ball in my hand to counter the Rasengan, and I'd fire it, sending him flying with his Rasengan still. And since the Ki Blast and the Rasengan made, direct connection, they would explode after Naruto would be sent blind, and it caused a big explosion. And Minato would come to see what happened, and he wouldn't see me or and Itachi there at all, but he'd see his son on the ground, unconscious and bleeding from the head and from his right arm. And Sasuke, who had already been taken to the hospital, had two broken ribs and a broken left arm. And this is where I'm gonna leave this part off. I hope you enjoyed, and even if you didn't, I am sorta glad you watched it. This is something I wanted to do. I do not know, like at first this was just gonna be like something I did for fun, and it still might be like the blue lock. What if I do with Bound Ragtail? But it seems to be that I got more attached to this the longer I didn't do it, because I was gonna make it a texting story. Like if I would have had scrolled down in the video that I had showed, like screen recorded and spoke on, you would have saw it towards the bottom. Well, not towards the very bottom, but it's like towards the middle. Hold on, I'll show you. So if we start off at the top and we'll start going down, it's right there. What if I was in Naruto? But as I said, again, I hope you enjoyed, and this is gonna be a series that I may continue to do as fun, and I hope that this wasn't too loud because I still haven't adjusted to how loud or how low I can speak into this mic yet. And with everything and nothing else to be said, goodbye.